he would always pull the quarterbacks aside and almost kind of have a one-on-one with them, like what plays do they like, what reads do they like, what do they not like, what do they feel good about, what do they not feel good about. And I always admired that. And so one thing that I did when I was coaching the line in state, I used to do that with my centers. I'd pull them aside a couple of times a week, especially like on Wednesday, because Wednesday was always our, third and short goal line day. After that practice, usually everything is in. You do your 2 minute and all that other stuff on Thursday, but I would always kind of pull them aside and be like, all right, how are you guys feeling about the game plan? What do you like? What do you not like? Is there anything that rubs you the wrong way? Is there anything that we should pay more attention to? And I would encourage those guys to be super honest with me, because then I would go to our OC and tell them, hey, my guys don't feel really good about this. What do you guys think? And sometimes I would get kind of overruled. Sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes we throw things out. Sometimes it was like, well, I would tell Eric Eisen, who's the OC at State, he'd say, well, maybe I'll just call it a few times. I won't rely on it, So I used to do that with my centers. And what it did is it really gave them a lot of ownership in terms of what they were doing in the game plan, because they're making calls and stuff, and they're the smart guys, and they're calling out blocking schemes and everything else. So that was something that I kind of handed the reins over to them a little bit, gave them some ownership, and they really took that and ran with it. And I did that with a lot of the line too. I would ask those guys their opinions, because, let's be honest, I can sit there and tell them all day long about what they should do, how they do it, they better do it, and this is just kind of what it is, versus just saying, what do you guys think? And I could overrule them. I'd say, well, that's just the way we're going to do it.
Right.
Like there's not a different way to do it, right? And then sometimes that happens. And but then the guys understand that you're listening to them, And so, that's one of the things that we did, and I thought was pretty good, that Hype used to do, and I kind of took that from him.
I love that, man. They call it horizontal leadership. So, it's not you just directing it to them and making orders all the time. They feel like they do have a say. And at the same time, if there's another way that you wanted it, or a better way that you wanted to do it, you could always at least kind of sell it to them, and then you tell them why. So now that kind of gave them the motive and the motivation, and all of a sudden now when they heard why, they could be like, oh, okay, yeah, Coach Flynn, that makes perfect sense. I had it all wrong, so maybe there was a disconnect there or whatever it is, but by empowering those kids, you open those lines of communication. Now you get that stuff solved, and it's not just something that's festering on Saturday, No
doubt. Well, and it helps them too when they're watching film on their own, because I only get, X amount of time with those guys, every week, right? So a lot of those guys, you kind of give them the ownership of watching film on their own, because those guys, with huddle and all that stuff, man, they'll watch film on their iPads in their dorm rooms or at their apartments at night, right after it's uploaded, right after practice. Yep. And so by the time they watch it with me, they've probably already seen it, right? So the more you give those guys ownership, the more you start talking about technique and why we do certain things, and or hey, player XYZ, you got a little bit of freedom here to do this, and this. Really, kind of whatever you see works for you. You give those guys ownership, because man, we're all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, right? So I'm trying to win just like they're trying to win. So as soon as you start to give those guys a lot of ownership, man, they just have more fun, and you're not barking orders at them and screaming at them and yelling at them and stuff.
Steve Patterson left NEO to go to UCO to become the defensive coordinator, had an offensive line kind of / tight end guy GA spot open up, and he called me. I drove down, interviewed with Chuck Langston, who was the head coach at the time, and sat on the couch. And Coach Langston didn't even ask me about football. He asked me about life. Who are you? What are you doing in your life? And we just hit it off. Offered me the job on the spot. I took it. And I was with Coach Langston 2 out of my 3 years at UCO, and really, really learned even more than I ever thought I could about running power and A-gap. And then when some, yes, hallelujah.
That's right.
And then when people know you're running the ball in A-gap and you're running power and they try to shut it off, It doesn't matter. We're running A gap and power. 3rd and 1. What are you running? Don't even ask. It's A gap power. Coach, it's 2nd and 8. What are we doing? You don't have to ask. We're running power and A gap.
Right.
And that was really, really, really great, awesome situation. Learned so much football. Got to recruit a whole bunch of quality people. And if you've never had to go into somebody's house and look at a mother and a father and sell yourself and your university to them and their son, and sell a vision of what you think that their son's education will be like, then you need to get some of that, because you find out more about who you are and who you trust in the coaching profession, and really if you trust who you're working for and what you're doing. And just a great, awesome situation. We had a coaching staff change. I was fortunate enough to stay on. Tracy Holland got hired, and we hired Jay Wilkinson as the offensive coordinator. I got to stay on as the full-time offensive line coach, got promoted, and we changed the whole culture and mindset of an A-gap power run team to spread air raid.
How'd that start out? Or how'd that go day one of learning that, hey, we're going from, telling the guys, hey, we're going A-gap power, and at 2nd and 8 we're going A-gap power, to it may be 3rd and 1 on the 5, and we're going to be in doubles.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll take it a step farther. Not only that, but we did straight old school Texas Tech vertical pass pro.
Oof.
So to have those guys with their hand on the ground, digging up the turf, ready to block somebody down or back block or square pull, to now you're in a 2-point stance and your weight's on your butt and you're backpedaling, hoping you don't make contact with somebody because the quarterback's at 7 yards and the ball's gone.
That's right. I've been through that too. You're just hoping they don't bull rush you too quick.
Exactly, and hope you don't end up on their highlight reel.
That's exactly right. A lot of bruised sternums from just getting ran into from 8 yards depth at full speed.
I learned one of the best lessons of my life, not only teaching more pass pro, but the defensive lineman had started going to the one arm is longer than two.
Yes.
And really sticking that outside arm in and then raking across with the other. And boy, that's hard to defend.